Welcome back into Tide Talk Live. Stacey Blackwood, joined as always by my good buddy Jake Thomas. Hope everybody had a good Memorial Day weekend. Enjoyed some time with family and friends. Now we're getting back into the work week, back into the groove of things, and on the docket tonight is the SEC schedule. The 2023 SEC spring meetings are taking place this week in Destin, and one of the biggest topics of discussion this week is going to be the future scheduling within the SEC. So we're going to be debating that, kind of looking at the pros and cons of both the 8 and the 9 game schedule. So we're going to be diving into that. But make sure you like, share, and subscribe today. Give this video a thumbs up. Like I said, subscribe. We're getting close to 2,100 subscribers, so we certainly appreciate all the support that we've received there. If you look in the description below, you're going to be able to find a link where you can purchase a Tide Talk Live t-shirt or a Tide Talk Live coffee mug. So we would appreciate that support as well. And hopefully we can get some more products on our site as well pretty soon. So make sure you look at the link in the description below. Jake, that was a long introduction, but how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Had a great Memorial Day weekend. It just, I was just getting into my comfortable zone before it hit me last night. So, well, back to work tomorrow. One more day have been great, but we made the best of it. But it was great to have 3 days at least to hang out and chill a little while.
No doubt about it. And like you said, getting back in the groove of things, and now with the SEC spring meetings taking place, it's almost like football season is almost here. And as we record this, we're 95 days away from Alabama kicking off the 2023 season against Middle Tennessee State there in Tuscaloosa. So cannot wait for that. I hope that you all join my countdown that I do on RollTideWire.com every day leading up until kickoff on September 2nd. So make sure you join that as well over there at RollTideWire.com. But Jake, look, let's just look at this really from a 30,000 foot view. Not, we can obviously give our take as Alabama fans on the situation and the debating between 8 or 9 game schedule within the conference, but just your thoughts on what do you think is best for the SEC, not what's best for Alabama, but what is best for the SEC moving forward.
Well, everybody knows the best football comes out of the SEC, period. No, there's no doubt about it. So 9 games in SEC schedule, you talk about revenue making, and if we're going into this, that's all it is about, is just make more money and how we can make more money. So you put 9-game SEC schedule out there, and that's pretty much, you may have a G5 and maybe one more Power 5 that they'll play. But you put SEC on TV against each other every single week, pretty much, you're going to make a killing. And just the cold hard truth about it, that's exactly what they want to do, is just make more money off of it. So, I mean, honestly, in that aspect, 9 games is where you need to go.
Yeah, and see, that's you hit the nail on the head. It's all about the money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if each team can get an extra $5 to $10 million a year for playing one extra SEC game, they're all going to be like, yeah, sign me up.
Right.
And there's been a lot of, as always, Nick Saban and Alabama are kind of at the forefront of the discussion when it comes to the future of the conference scheduling, and mainly because Coach Saban a couple months ago, when the 3 permanent opponents or proposed permanent opponents was leaked, he obviously wasn't too happy because he got the hardest draw. Him and Alabama got the hardest draw out of anybody within the conference, and so he has a right to kind of voice his concerns, but his concerns doesn't start with that. What people need to realize is that Nick Saban has been pushing for a 9-game SEC schedule for about 10 years now. And he really started pushing it hard when he couldn't find non-conference opponents to schedule, Power 5 non-conference opponents.
Right.
He was having a hard time scheduling those guys, especially in a home-and-home situation, which is what he's always wanted to do. All he could ever get was those neutral site games, and it never looked like the SEC was going to move to a 9-game schedule up until like the last 12 months
Right.
when Oklahoma and Texas joined the league and when, SEC expansion really started happening. And so what Coach Saban and the athletic department done was they started, scheduling future opponents in the non-conference, a decade out. I mean, they got home and away series coming up with Notre Dame, Wisconsin, big time Ohio State. So
Yeah.
so now Nick Saban's saying, okay, well, wait a minute. So now we're all of a sudden going to go to a 9-game SEC schedule where I have to play the toughest permanent opponents out of anybody in the league, and now I've also got these Power Five schools that I'm playing out of conference that I've scheduled because we wasn't going to be going to a 9-game conference schedule when I've been wanting to do this for the last 10 years. So he's like, what do you want? And so he's trying to kind of maneuver his way. Look, Saban don't care. He's not scared. So
No.
the people from other programs that are saying, "Oh, Nick Saban's scared." What is he scared of? He's won more national championships than anybody else in college football history. Do you
Right.
really believe that he is scared?
No.
See, and so nobody can really say that with a straight face
No.
outside of bigotry towards Alabama. So that part of the discussion is just it's ludicrous. Nick Saban has to look out for Alabama's best interest. That's his job.
Right. Exactly.
And so he's looking at Alabama and Georgia are the cream of the crop of the SEC. He's looking over at Georgia where they have Florida who is going way down, Auburn who is probably going up with the hiring of Hugh Freeze, and then Kentucky who they're at their very best will win 8 or 9 games at their very best.
Who's Alabama
And
got?
then you got Alabama, who's playing two teams who made, team that won the West last year in LSU, team that was won a New Year's Six game, blew out Clemson in a New Year's Six game in Tennessee, and then Auburn, who is like we mentioned on the
way up.
rise with Hugh Freeze. So 3 teams that are traditionally really good in the SEC.
Right.
And so, you can't have your 2 cream of the crop programs having 2 polar opposites permanent opponents.
Right.
So I think what Nick Saban is saying, look, all of y'all have talked about competitive balance throughout our dominance within the conference. And the truth is, everybody in the SEC, everybody in the country has been the B word and complaining about Alabama's dominance over the last 15 years and the competitive balance within college football. Now that Nick Saban is like, well, hold on a minute, I thought we wanted competitive balance, they're all like, oh, he's whining and crying. Is that not what everybody else has been doing the last decade?
Since Saban's been at Alabama, we've
I
been
mean, so
winning.
it's amazing to me, Jake, how tunes change. Look, Nick Saban doesn't want anybody to feel sorry for him because of the 3 permanent opponents that he could potentially draw. Alabama's been playing those 3 teams anyway.
Right.
That's not changing anything. What's changing is now they're adding what happens on the year that Alabama plays their 3 permanent opponents and they have to play on the road at Georgia.
Right. Exactly.
And that happens to coincide with the year they play on the road at Ohio State.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
So here's what could happen. This could potentially happen, and this is what Nick Saban's thought process is. In 1 year, if he keeps the permanent opponents of Tennessee, Auburn, LSU, and let's say they keep the non-conference game with Ohio State, and they happen to draw Georgia in a year, it could potentially happen where they could have 5 road games at Ohio State, at Georgia, at Tennessee, at LSU.
right. You talk about
mean,
tough.
What? Of course, he's going to be like, hold up. He's going to be like that old video. Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
You talking about Murderers Row? I mean, you don't have a chance.
No.
And then you look at then what if that year Georgia draws Vanderbilt as one of their. So what I'm saying is you have to create something that has competitive balance. It's not going to be 100% fair, but the competitive balance has to be there as best it can. And the way they have it set up right now, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. And look, I want a 9-game SEC schedule because I want SEC football as much as possible. The COVID
Hmm.
was the best year of college football for me because it was nothing but SEC teams, then Notre Dame and Ohio State. That was a fun year of college football.
It was. It was
So
awesome.
I'm all about it. I'm all about more SEC football games, but there has to be competitive balance.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree 100%. It's you've got you can't, like you said, you can't have your two top walking dogs polar opposites and scheduling. And it's Saban, like you said, is not scared. He's got to look out for the best interest of Alabama. And at this point, these proposed opponents is not in the best interest. And
And
it's a
and
fine line.
the truth is, I want to play Tennessee, LSU, and Auburn every year. I do. I
Right,
mean, them are the three most fun games to anticipate every single season as an
right,
Alabama fan. But if we're about competitive balance, which is what everybody has been screaming about, that's why we got the transfer portal that's just wide open all the time. That's why NIL is running rampant. It's because of a competitive balance. But now we're not wanting to have a competitive balance within our three permanent opponents. I think there's a better way. Look, I'm not saying I have all the answers,
right.
but maybe, and I don't want to drop LSU. I don't. I want to play LSU every year. But Jake, we played Mississippi State more than we played any other SEC team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mississippi State is closer to us than any other SEC team.
Yeah, and it's been a rival for years.
Why can't we swap LSU for Mississippi State?
Hmm.
And then and I don't know how. See, then you open up another can of worms of how you place LSU and who you take off of Mississippi State's schedule. So I mean, it's a whole can of worms, and it's a bad situation.
Yeah,
But there has to be some competitive balance, and then you have to look at what the non-conference schedule is going to look like. And like I said, when Alabama's got future opponents on home and away between Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Ohio State, you have to figure something out, or else you're not setting your program up for success, and that's ultimately what Nick Saban's job is, and the athletic director's job is at Alabama.
yeah, I agree. And I kind of partly blame the SEC East as it is right now for being
Oh
so
yeah,
lackluster. Because this wouldn't be an issue if we had three or four dominant teams on that side, like we do on the Western side.
right, right.
You know,
It's the balance within each division of the conference right now is totally uneven. I mean,
mhm.
you look at the West, and Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Auburn's on the rise.
A&M.
Mississippi A&M, it has just as much talent as about as anybody in the conference.
Hmm.
And then you look at the East, it's Georgia and Tennessee, and that's
That's
it.
it. Yeah.
That's it. Sure, Kentucky's a nice football team, but they don't have near the dudes to keep up with Georgia or Tennessee.
No, what usually happens in those games? They get blown out when they play the
Right,
top dogs.
right. They'll,
South
they'll go.
Carolina's
They'll
coming
go.
up. You know.
Kentucky will go into one of them games, 5-1 or 6-0, and then get the crap beat out of them and fall back down to planet Earth, and it's the same
Yeah.
thing every year. And
Yeah.
Vanderbilt, sure they're making improvements under Clark Leah, but Jake, they're not ever going to be. I mean, their max potential is 7-5. Once every 10 years, they may not even that. Once every 20 years, they may
Right.
win 8 or 9 games.
Right. Exactly.
So, Ole Miss has enough talent to be a dangerous team. Arkansas has enough talent, especially look at this year what they're returning with KJ Jefferson at quarterback,
Hmm.
Raheem Sanders at running back. I mean, they're loaded, Jake. They have a
They are.
talented roster.
Hmm.
Sam Pittman's a good football coach. So, Jimbo Fisher's won a national title. So, uh, it's the imbalance between the divisions is really something that's hurting the way they're trying to set up the future schedule. And
Right.
that's really nobody's fault. I think eventually Florida will find the right guy. I'm not saying it's time to give up on Billy Napier, but I'm not sure that this year they're going to be much more competitive than what they were last year. So
Right.
there's just a lot of question marks on that side of the division. Georgia and Tennessee are solid.
Hmm.
Then after that, you have either mediocre or just bad football teams.
I know it. Yeah. And South Carolina's kind of gotten better with Shane Beamer, but you
But
know,
once again,
right,
their
is eight,
max
nine to
is
win.
8 or 9 wins. Jake, I mean,
Right.
it took Steve Spurrier having a generational defensive lineman and a generational running back before he got injured to get to 10 or to double digit wins.
Right.
And you're
Exactly.
talking about one of the best college football coaches of all time. I mean, I
Yeah.
like Shane Beamer, but I don't think he's to that status. So,
No.
South Carolina's max is 8 or 9 wins.
Right. Absolutely. You
And
know.
so it's just that plays a role in it. And there's just so much that you have to unpack when you're looking at an 8 or 9 game schedule. If they still want these teams to play 12 regular season games, I'm sure that's what they want to do, then you got to figure out a way to have some balance within your non-conference schedule, but also within your conference schedule and your permanent opponents.
Right.
And right now, their proposed permanent opponents is not really the competitive balance is just not there, like we've said. And so I still think there's a lot to do between now and the time that a decision is definitely made, because I think they've already announced that next year there's still going to be just an 8 game schedule within the conference. So we're looking at probably 2025 before a change actually happens. So there's still time to kind of work out the kinks and kind of find the right solutions. It's not going to be perfect. I'm not expecting perfection,
Right.
but I do think there's some steps that can be taken to improve the current propositions.
Right. I agree 100%.
But that's going to wrap us up. We had fun kind of debating that. I did not think that we would go as long as we did, kind of looking
Then
at this
either.
8 or 9 game schedule that's being proposed and kind of being worked out within the SEC. There's a lot going on this week. Like we said, it's the 2023 SEC spring meeting, so there'll be kind of some news breaking. All throughout the week there in Destin. So we'll kind of do our best to cover that. We'll get back into our post spring depth chart projections here pretty soon as well. But it's been a lot of fun, Jake, kind of talking about a little bit of different subject. It makes it feel like football season's right around the corner, which it is. Like I said, 95 days from the time of the recording. So it'll be here before you know it, just a little over 3 months away. But that's going to wrap it up. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe today. Like we said, jump in the description below and follow that link to Shopify, and you can look at our store and purchase you a Tide Live t-shirt or coffee mug or both. Like we said, be a friend, tell a friend about our show, help us grow our show as much as possible. We would greatly appreciate that. Jump in the comment section and let us know your thoughts on if you think it needs to stay at 8 games in the SEC or move up to a 9 game schedule within the conference. But we'd love
Hmm.
to interact with you there in the comment section. But that's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. For Stacey Blackwood and Jake Thomas, we'll see you next time. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.